Hello pottery friends, welcome to the Twisted Tree Frog Studio. I'm Sandra and we are going to do another kiln opening today. It is full of goodies for the market coming up in just 3 days, so fingers crossed that everything is good in there. There are a few refires from the last kiln opening, so we will see what we have. Let's get it open. It's still a little warm. It's sitting at 216 degrees. But I don't have time to wait for it to get cooler. This is a Scott 1027. I stole the little shelf from the Scott 818 to my right to try and fit as many things in there as possible. On the top shelf we have a chip and dip. Thank goodness, no cracks. That combination is Mako Micro Pearl, pardon me. And then I did Micro Jade on the rim, inside and out. And a little bit of Lime Shower by Mako right on the very rim, and a touch of flux. So it gave me the nice drips that I wanted. I especially wanted drips on the outside of the dip bowl, and it just gave me a little bit on the outside. A little spoon rest as well, done exactly the same. A little bit more light flux here in the center. I have a ton of trinket plates. I want to give a big shout out to Spectrum for sending me the 12 pack that I finally got to test all the colors. Great floating glazes. I know everybody out there is using them and I love them as well. So this is Papaya, just on a little trinket plate. This one is Clayscapes Aqua. Spectrum Sunrise. Beautiful glaze, that one. Morning Glory, I believe this one is. I was putting them on so fast that I didn't get to write them all down. I think this one is Turquoise. As is this little carved guy. This is a Butter Keeper part. We'll get to the other part in a moment. I wanted to get this shelf off before I knocked it over. It was very precarious, to say the least. Here is the bottom of the Butter Keeper. So that is just black underglaze with my Studio Clear over that, and these are Elan transfers in white. So that turned out really nice. We'll whip through this as quickly as we can. I think this one is Ginger. This is a refire that had a black mat on the bottom. It's got Alberta Slip liner glaze, and I just splashed on some Louisiana Bayou by Spectrum. So that saved that cup. It's nice and smooth again. This is a refire with some brown engobe that I had put on too thick, so I had to grind some of it off with cenote on top. It is a refire, so it's burned out a little bit, and just a Raven Scrag white on the inside. This was a little tester. The handle had fallen off, so I thought I will fire it anyhow and see how it goes. I will have to look up and see what that combination is. That will be oatmeal on the top. I would say iron luster and oatmeal. Disappointing that handle did that, but win a few, lose a bunch. I've got a very tippy kiln shelf here. I don't know what's going on below it, so we'll get everything off of that. This mug is a coat of Spectrum Pearl White all over, and then peppered plum all the way to the bottom, and then a second coat of peppered plum only halfway down. This was a refire as well. I just put a little bit of flux on the rim to cover up a little bit of crawling. That was a Clayscapes glaze from way back. I believe, not Lake Blue, I believe it is Shadow Blue. Floating Turquoise from Spectrum. These are some silk screens that I made myself and just did a real rustic little plate. The slips are Naples yellow, I believe it was, dark turquoise, and blackberry, if I remember correctly. And then just a black ink with a clear glaze over top. Okay, let's get this tippy shelf out and see what's going on here. I feel better already. This is an ombre platter that I did. Again, it's a silk screen that I made myself. And I just did yellow into orange, green, and into dark turquoise on that. So that turned out very nice. No cracking. I took the time to scrape down all my kiln shelves, thanks to Jane at Shoebox Studio that was struggling with cracking. I was as well, and I looked at my shelves and I was quite embarrassed. So there will be a video coming out on how I did that. Here's another platter just done with Bermuda slip. That's the Pilcher slip, and the stencil I made myself. Clear glaze over top and a textured back. Gives it a little bit of interest. Also helps things move a little bit better on the kiln shelves. This one unfortunately covered up the underglaze transfer a little bit much with the turquoise. I wanted to see if it would show transparent to the underneath. This is Topinade, I believe, by Spectrum. And another ginger little trinket dish. These will be great with Mother's Day coming up. And the first market of the season, it's nice to have little items. This is the first time at this market for me. I'm very thrilled that I got into a lot more of them than I first thought, because it typically has taken years to get on that list. So I had some issues again with these bowls, with my on-globe going on too thick, matte outside, and copper float inside. And I still have some little specks of something coming through on those bowls. I ground them down. I had bits of things falling off the kiln shelves, but that looks to be a little bit of grog. But definitely some nice copper colors coming out there. And a slightly smaller one done exactly the same. No grog pieces coming out of this one though. And nice copper color. That, I believe, is Morning Glory. Bougainvillea. And this one has a little mum word on it. So somebody can buy a little treasure for mum for Mother's Day. And that is Topinade again. And these Spectrum floating glazes are just two generous coats. Ginger. And a little wheat roller. Just a little hand-built serving dish. We've got daisy texture on the outside, nice little handles. This is Floating Turquoise by Spectrum with Raven Scrag white liner glaze. It crawled a little bit, so I went over it with some light flux on the edges and a little bit on the bottom to get rid of that crawling. And then we just have two little mixing bowls, and this is unfortunate. We have Clayscapes cream with, I'll have to look and see what that is. Clayscapes cream for sure, but unfortunately I've been having issues with it crawling, and it did crawl again on both those. So they are going to have to be refired. Unfortunate. Let's see if I can find that satin Oribe, 2 coats on the rim, dipped in Clayscapes cream outside and inside, and a little bit of light flux on the rim. So I don't know if it's a light flux that the Clayscapes cream didn't like, or the satin orib. But it certainly did crawl on that outside. It could have been just too thick. This is a refire from last time. It is the third time it's been fired. I had a handle fall off in the first kiln firing with that. And so I refired it, and without putting any more, and that is Floating Blue by Old Forge Creations, and it pinholed. So now there's no pinholes, the holes are all good, and the little lid fits beautifully, so that will be good for the market. We grow a lot of garlic in our area, so those will be perfect for this time of the year. This is a beautiful blue. This is Louisiana Bayou. And I believe another ginger. If I find out I'm wrong on these, some of them I don't know if I'm wrong, but if I find out I'm wrong, I will certainly put it in a correction when I edit the video. Here are a few more butter keepers. I have two the same, I'm not sure which goes with which. So again, silk screen that I've done myself. I wanted it to look vintagey, I wanted it to look old and worn. And that is white slip, Pilcher slip with a black underglaze transfer silk screen that I did, and glossy clear over top. I think I have those mixed up. And a second. Getting a little warm, but it's still not going through the gloves. Now, because I've been having difficulty with my Clayscapes cream, I did a couple test tiles and it has not crawled at all. So it definitely is an application issue. Now the other thing, so I also wanted to try the Clayscapes cream on a dark clay in texture, and it broke really nicely over that. So I think I'll even thin down my cream a little bit. The other glaze I have been fighting terribly with, and this is the closest I've been able to get it to work. Everybody has such good luck with Coyote root beer. Not me. I mixed it too thin, and so I've been pulling water off of it and leaving the lid off for over 6 weeks. It's finally getting some variation in color, but I think it still needs to be thicker. So I'm going to open up that lid again and keep doing that. I did put a little bit of flux on the back to see what it would do, and it actually moved that quite nicely with no pinholes. So we definitely got to a cone 6 firing. We have 5 bending all the way over, 6 is nicely bent, and 7 is part way over. The kiln vent was on from the very beginning, and I left it on until just before the video so I could try to cool the kiln down as fast as possible. This is black engobe with some Poppy Fields, Mako Poppy Fields Jungle Gem. I wish it was a little more coverage over the engobe. I guess I needed one more coat. Just starting to play with the Jungle Gems. That was a refire as well because I had issues with the engobe, and I have some issues with this as well. So this will not be able to be sold. I could try grinding it down and throwing more on top. It is an engobe I mix up myself, so maybe I will have to not have overlap. This one is Clayscapes cream on the bottom and Mako Cloverfield on the top. So that was a refire as well, and that came out really nicely. Let's see what these are. I can't remember what I put on that. I am not sure what is on the bottom of that. That is Purple Passion on the top, and unfortunately it has crawled on the inside just ever so slightly at the rim. So those will have to be refired. I will probably just put some light flux on there, a little bit more Purple Passion. And the bottom is overcast by, let me think of what it's called. I will have to put that on the video. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's Danielle the Clay Lady, her clay company. Definitely having problems with my Jungle Gems crawling. This one crawled as well. This is Lime Shower. So I'm getting that crawling right on the inside. So either it's a little too hot on that bottom shelf, or it's an application issue. So that will have to be refired. As will the second one, just like it. Now this one crawled all the way down. So let's see. I believe that is Clayscapes cream as well, with Lime Shower. Disappointing. That's just part of it though, isn't it? Yeah, it definitely issues. This is so nice with cheetah. Cheetah over an iron red of some sort. But again, I had crawling on the inside all the way down. So that is my Raven Scrag cream on the inside. So the Jungle Gems are not liking my liner glaze. So I will have to go to a Studio White if I want to use a Jungle Gem. I should be able to refire that one, although it is very close to the bottom, but I shouldn't have to put too much glaze on the outside. Well, thank goodness this one did not run this as green tea, muddy waters and green tea maybe. But that came out very nice. And there are 2 of those. No crawling, thank goodness. Really nice. It could be a tankard or a larger coffee mug. And lastly, I did some sunset cups. Just carved. This is the view I see out of my window in the studio with the foothills and some mountains in the back with the lake in front. So that was my inspiration. So I did an ombre effect with slips, just a Raven Scrag white on the inside. It's a beautiful liner glaze. The only thing it seems to fight with is jungle gems, and that's the first time I've really used jungle gems. So those turned out quite nicely, just how I had pictured them. Second one. Nice on the inside. And lastly, a third one of those. Now, unfortunately, the handle didn't fare very well on this one. I may have to try to refire that and glaze glue it back on. But 2 out of 3 isn't bad on those ones. So thank you very much for joining me. The kiln is now finally down to 130 degrees. I would very much appreciate if you would share the video, like and subscribe. It helps immensely as we try to have the algorithm pick us up. And I urge you to do that with all the pottery videos you like to watch. It helps everybody to move forward and get picked up by the algorithm and keep doing videos. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. If there are any questions or comments, please feel free to put those down in the comment section below, and I will be sure to answer all of those. Enjoy your day. Thank you very much for joining. I know everybody's busy, and I am going to try and video a little bit at the market this weekend. It is a big celebration at the Kootenay Meadows Dairy Farm where the cows get let out for the first time in the spring into the pasture, and they dance. They're so happy. They're kicking up their heels. It is quite a nice family event that I will attend for the first time as well. So thank you again for joining, and we'll see you next time.